I've finally cut out social media this year, and these are the 5 things that are helping me stick with it. Firstly, hi, I'm Jamie. I'm a small UK-based creator, and I'm on a mission this year to try and start creating more and consuming less. Reason for that is not too long ago, I realized that I was stuck on autopilot. I grew very conscious of the fact that every single morning I was waking up and scrolling and having a coffee, and throughout the day, my phone would just be in my hands and I'd lose hours and hours of time thumbing through somebody else's content. When I look back, all the hours and days that I spent just scrolling through TikTok and playing games on Steam, and they were good times, but what I realized is it was an attempt to try and reclaim the personal time that I didn't feel like I had. What this meant was I was never really switching off, and over time, that kind of led me to believe that I was stuck in a loop and nothing ever really changed. So I finally decided that this year was going to be the year I make some big changes. I set myself some deceptively big goals for 2026. First of all was zero social media consumption. I was going to try and shoot 3 videos per week. I was going to try and shoot and post 1 photo per day. I was going to read 1 book a month, and I was going to try and eat less processed foods. Already I've started to find that I've got so much more time than I actually thought that I had, and I feel less stressed and burnt out, and my output and creativity have just gone through the roof. And this video is just about me and my journey, what's working, what isn't, and 5 tips that are going to help you finally break free. Tip number 1 is to get off autopilot. So put some friction between you and the social media apps by going into your phone and hiding the apps, the notifications. Go into your notifications, turn those off. Any alerts and pop-ups, get rid of those as well. I don't know about you, but the amount of times that I picked up my phone first thing in the morning before I'd even had my coffee and started scrolling through apps. And if you put a barrier between you and them, it's going to help you prevent that. The first few days for me were a bit like quitting smoking, if I'm honest. And the thing that I realized is that there was this void in my life, and the thing that I thought that brought me so much comfort was actually just helping me numb myself to the fact that I actually had so much more time on my hands than I realized. It honestly sounds a little bit dramatic, but sitting with this discomfort for a while is really like unplugging from the matrix. Tip number 2 is to replace the reflex. So most phone use is unintentional and just an automatic habit that you've developed. And you'll find it yourself. You'll pick your phone up first thing in the morning, when you go to the bathroom, when you're traveling to work, if you're on the train, when you're on your break, when you're coming home, sitting there with your family sometimes. So I started challenging myself to try and keep my phone in another room entirely. The other thing that helped me as well during this was having a to-do list on hand, or starting a project, or having some tasks to do that are going to keep you busy and fill that time. At first, it can feel quite uncomfortable not having your phone around and starting to get bored, but honestly, that boredom can quickly turn into something useful. Our brains naturally want to keep busy, so if you keep a to-do list on hand and something to engage with and an activity to do, the less likely you are to go back to the phone. Break the reflex and replace it with action. Number 3 is to use social pressure. And you can do this by telling friends and family what you're doing so that they can support you. It doesn't need to be a big announcement, just something casual in conversation. I don't know about you, but my family and friends, they were constantly sending me TikToks and reels and links, and eventually that just led to me kind of getting hooked and sucked back into that world again. So having your friends and family does 2 things really. So first of all, that support stops you from getting dragged back into the phone really quickly and easily. And also it creates accountability as well. So because you've announced and told people what you were going to do, you hold yourself more accountable, and hopefully they will too. Social prompts and cues are usually the things that kind of get us sucked back into scrolling. So flip the narrative and use social pressure to get out of it. Number 4 is to try and avoid the procrastination traps, which I personally am really guilty of. I tried replacing scrolling with planning and learning new skills. The thing I quickly realized is that I started to use that as a way to avoid doing work. I had to ask myself the difficult question numerous times: am I learning with intent, or am I just doing this to avoid actually doing something? The thing that I started having to do for myself was set limits and plan when I was going to do any kind of planning or learning. I had to be really strict and decide what I was going to learn and how long for, until when, and then stop. The thing that's really important to note is that learning about the thing or how to do the thing is not actually doing the thing. And progress only happens when you start making and doing. And the final tip, number 5, is be kind to yourself. This is a marathon and not a sprint. Quitting social media and building better habits is not about being perfect every single day. If you slip up and scroll, don't panic, it's not the end of the world. Don't beat yourself up, notice it, accept it, and get back on track as soon as possible.
Something that can be quite useful is if you keep a journal or at least a record of why it is that you started this in the first place, and you can use that to look back at all the progress that you've made so far. Treat yourself like a teammate and not the enemy, and the momentum will come naturally. And that's it. That's my 5 tips for quitting social media in 2026. I won't pretend it's easy and you're not going to slip up. I have done and still do, but the benefits are real. I've noticed it already. I've already noticed that I have more focus and clarity, more time on my hands, and more energy and more creative energy than ever before. If you're thinking about trying this yourself, just start small and be kind to yourself. As I said before, this is a marathon and not a sprint, and slipping up can be part of the process.
If you do try this yourself, leave me a note in the comments and let me know how it's going for you. Or if you're already doing this and have done this before and you've got any tips, drop me a comment. I'd love to hear from you as well. And if you want more honest videos like this about creating more and consuming less, hit subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one.